So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stick some cover crops down on here, so we don't leave a bare patch of earth over winter for the winter rains and the winter snow and the winter frost to come and take out all the nutrients. We want to keep the soil protected. We want to make sure that the soil's got a bandage on top of it, and that'll keep it protected and keep all the nutrients locked in, and we'll have some biomass to add to the soil and to build soil fertility next season. Now there's a number of cover crops that I've got, and there's a whole array out there that you can use, and I'll show you the different ones that I've got. Delivery arrived this morning. These are the cover crops that have arrived, and these are the things that I'm going to be using as cover crops. So the first thing that I've got is buckwheat, and buckwheat, it's not exactly a grain, it's more like a tender succulent, but it can overwinter quite well. But this grows quite tall, so this is good as a really good weed suppressant. And the other really good property about buckwheat is that it adds, naturally most soils have enough phosphorus in them, but often that phosphorus isn't plant available. Now what this buckwheat will do is it will convert the phosphorus in the soil, and it'll make it plant available. So when we cut that buckwheat down, we can add it to the soil and it'll make phosphorus plant available. So that's the really unique thing about buckwheat, and the really good thing about buckwheat. The other one that we've got here is trefoil. Now the good thing about trefoil is it's very low growing, it's very fast growing as well. So it's really good to use as a underplanting for other plants. And this is what I'm going to do around some of my plants that we haven't quite finished with the beds yet. There's still things growing, but we've got ground underneath that we can plant on, and that's what I'm going to do with this trefoil. I'll show you how I apply that. The other special mix or specialist green manure is this winter mix that I've got. Now this winter mix it's a mix of what is it a mix of? It's a mix of overwintering ryegrass, it's a mix of mustard, white mustard, and it's a mix of clover. The specialist overwintering mix, it's perfect to be sown anytime between August and November. So the whole thing about these green manures is they're very prolific and they come up really fast. So what they do is they suppress the weeds, and what traditionally farmers do is they'll cut them down and then they'll dig them into the soil. Now because we're no dig, we don't dig them into the soil. What we'll do is we'll cut them down and then we'll use them as a mulch, and I'll show you how we do that when we get to the time. But for the time being, I've got the mix that I'm going to put down here is I'm going to put this winter mix down. I'm going to put a little bit of buckwheat down here as well. I'm going to mix the buckwheat in with it. And there's a couple of other things that I'm going to use. Here I've got some broad beans. Now broad beans, as with all legumes, they take nitrogen from the air and they attach it to the soil on their root nodules. So when you cut the plant down and you leave the roots to rot in the ground, what happens is those nitrogen nodules decay and they release that nitrogen that they've taken from the air and add it to the soil in a plant available form. So that's what we're going to do with these broad beans, and by sowing them now we hopefully we should get an earlier crop next year. As with all my soils, before I plant anything, put down a nice little amount of chicken compost, homemade compost. The chicken compost video will follow shortly, where I've harvested this compost. I'll get that video out very shortly. So just gently spread this compost over the top of the bed. That's it. Done. That's that bed ready now. We'll put the green manure down. So the one that I'm going to put down here is I'm going to put down the winter mix. So this is the mix of clover, mustard and ryegrass. So I'm just going to broadcast the seeds. So try and get a nice even mix. You want to sow them quite thickly so it acts as a weed barrier. And if you keep your hand like this and just gently prise your fingers apart and let them fall through the gaps of your fingers, you should be able to get a nice even distribution. And the other thing that I'm going to put down a little bit down here, not too much, but I'm going to put a bit of buckwheat down as well because of this down. I'm just going to put a few seeds. I'm not going to put masses of buckwheat down, I'm just going to put a few seeds down just so we get in a good balance of different mixes. Now you want roots to penetrate at different levels, so they bring up nutrients from different levels and then lock soil at different levels, so you want different root structures. That's the thing about green manures, is when you put in green manures, you want to put in different types of green manures according to your soil structure. So if you need to add nitrogen, then add in legumes, add in things like clover, add in things like trefoil, add in things like broad beans. Now the other thing and if your soil's quite compact, then what you want to do is add in plants with roots that are going to break up that compact soil. So add in things like radishes. You want to add plants that have root structures that are going to benefit the soil that you need. So if you've got a nice loose soil, add in a plant with a fibrous root. So these kind of clovers and these kind of plants will hold that soil together. Ryegrass will help hold the soil together. Ryegrass roots are a lot shorter than the clover roots. And the broad beans, they'll penetrate even further. And things like radishes, they will help break up clay soil. So if you've got clay soils, like I've got here, clay soil, radishes would be great for clay soils. Because what they'll do is they'll tunnel down into the soil, and if you cut them off at the plant and at the leaf level, and let the root rot in the soil, you just create a compost corridor. So now I've got this bed planted with buckwheat, clover, ryegrass and mustard. I'm going to give it another dusting of compost over the top, and hopefully within the next few days we should see the sprouts coming up. One thing I am going to add is I am going to add some broad beans into this. You get that packet there?
This one?
Yeah. No, the other one, the big seeds.
This one?
Yeah. And this is broad bean Whitcane. I can't pronounce that. Yeah, you can try.
Whitcane.
Yeah, okay. Now, these are primarily being grown as a cover crop rather than for beans. If we get beans from them, great. If we don't, no big loss. We want the biomass and we want the nitrogen fixing qualities. Push them in deeper than that. Plant them where I throw them, okay? So we'll just gently cover the seeds up again with a light, just gently rake them in. That's all about cover crops and how we put in cover crops. I'll do a separate video on how I do underplanting with cover crops. So keep an eye out for that one. And for this one, I'm going to leave it there. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.